Hello and welcome to my office. My seminars are made for strategists who work in pharma, medtech and other life sciences industries. You can watch them on my YouTube channel and listen to them on my Darwin's Medicine podcast channel. If you'd like the supporting article for this seminar, then either mail me or browse my website. You can also find over 300 of my earlier publications. And if you want to stay up to date with my research of how pharma and medtech are evolving, then please like and subscribe to this seminar now. So let's begin. I was recently facilitating a strategy workshop when there was a painful silence in the room. The team had just realised that they'd been making a mistake for some years. Now, I won't share their secrets, obviously, but they had overlooked this subtle but significant behaviour of their customers, a behaviour that strongly shaped brand preferences and which should have shaped the company's strategy. So their expensive, elaborate strategic planning process that they had should have identified this behaviour and used it to guide their value proposition, but it hadn't. So it was then that the leader asked me the killer question. We used to be good at this sort of thing, why aren't we now? Because you've evolved this way, I answered. And when I explained what I meant, it helped. So let me share that explanation with you. Most companies start small and tightly focused and grow to be large and diverse. So 50 years ago, a great researcher called Larry Greiner studied how, as firms grow, they change their systems, structures and processes. If they don't, they die. So consequently, today's firm is almost always a different animal from the one that its founders would recognise. It's not that it's better or worse, more like it's just adapted to the current situation. Now, you can see the same evolutionary pattern in individuals. Neither you nor I are the same person we were years ago. And these adaptive changes, whether in companies or individuals, are not usually continuous. We change in spurts, as it were. The transition points for companies are called Greiner points, and you can probably see analogous transitions in your own life. For both companies and individuals, Greiner points are important in practice, and this is illustrated by parallels with evolutionary biology. As biological species evolve, they cross thresholds that mark points of no return. Biologists call this Dallo's law after the 19th century Belgian paleontologist. And it's recently been supported by a new Freiburg University research study of animals like whales, which evolved from the terrestrial to the aquatic. Once a species evolution causes it to lose a complex trait, it's almost impossible to regain it. And that's what happened to my client. Their informal, largely qualitative way of understanding the market had evolved into a much more structured and more quantitative approach. This was a necessary adaptation to their larger size and their more diverse markets. But in that evolutionary process, they had lost the capability to understand implicit, subtle, tacit customer behaviour. Now, I see the same thing in my mentoring work with life science leaders. I ask a lot of challenging questions that are meant to make the mentee think. But sometimes, in some cases, they don't think. They double down on their beliefs. One recent mentee responded to every question that I asked by becoming more and more adversarial. And the conversation was beginning to feel like a hard-fought tennis rally. So I changed the subject. I asked him to tell me a story about when he felt he had grown personally. In his story, his younger self was eager to learn and happy to shift his deeply held assumptions. So somewhere in the last 20 years, as this man had evolved into a senior executive, he had lost that valuable trait and was finding it hard to regain it. I always try to end my seminars with a practical application, so let me do that now. Dallo's law applies to both companies and to people. In a company, you can't reverse your evolution to regain an old capability that you need today. That phenotype withered because it didn't suit today's market environment. So the client I talked about can't become informal again like they were 20 years ago. And my mentee needs to be more decisive than his 20-something self. He can't go back. But that doesn't mean that you can't regain the required capabilities in other ways. So I advise my client company to add ethnographic studies to their market research process, for example. I advised my mentee to work with some of his younger colleagues on change management processes. Both pieces of advice were accepted and both seemed to be successful. Just because Dallo says you can't de-evolve doesn't mean you can't evolve in the direction that you need to. Thanks for joining this seminar. If you found it useful, then please like, subscribe and share on LinkedIn and forward it to one of your colleagues. And if you'd like to know more about my research into strategy, business models and the evolution of the life sciences industry, then please get in touch and we can set up a virtual cup of tea.